It's February 23rd. It's only been a couple of days, and we have a freakishly warm day today. It's approaching 60 degrees, which is nuts. And it's supposed to turn really cold and snow, and that's going to move back in another day or so. So let's see what Mark's been up to. He's out here working on this yesterday and today. Yesterday I had him cleaning up in here, and then today took the seats out, and I told him I wanted him to vac all this out. I asked him why he didn't vac out all that poop and everything in the back. He said he didn't want to get in back until the seats were out. I guess he wants to be able to make a clean break for it in case a mouse comes out. He also says that he's pretty sure that there's new mouse poop on the dashboard that wasn't there after he vacuumed it yesterday, so he's convinced that there are still mice pooping in this thing. So I think what we're going to do is, after he cleans this out, is we'll set up my trap for mice. So I got Mark turning his attention to taking off the bumper. Keep working! Because he bailed out of this job real quick when he was in there vacuuming, and a mouse ran right by him, came up from underneath the recessed plastic case that holds the jack and ran past him. And then he says another couple ran the other way. So either a mouse was running back and forth and he counted it 4 times, or there's 4 mice in there at least. Don't know. So now we've got our mouse bucket trap with a nice big dollop of peanut butter on there, and a little ramp for them to drive up, walk up, and it's filled with antifreeze for them to drown in. So Mark was having trouble with the bolts and nuts on this bumper, so I got underneath there and took a look, and I said, well, you got the wrong size wrench. And he figured that the nuts were rounded over, but then we looked at it more closely and finally figured out 18 millimeter. So I think I mentioned that this truck had fallen off of the lift at the dealership and they had to do repairs. I'm wondering if they replaced this bumper. And Mark's telling me that underneath there, he sees written on the bumper, scrawled on it, 45 bucks. So I'm wondering where the heck this bumper came from. Mark doesn't think it's original to the truck because it's not chrome. Front bumper's chrome, but I don't know. I'm not that surprised that they might put a chrome in the front and a color matched in the back. So. How are we coming?
Good.
Huh?
Good.
Okay. Oh, so you might be wondering why we're taking the bumper off. Well, the bumper's going to have to come off anyways. And we also are taking the bumper off because we want to see if we can get to the mounts a little easier for the bed. Because we're thinking of taking the whole bed off the truck. The bed's actually in pretty good shape, other than paint-wise. It's got some surface rust in some areas, but it's still solid, as opposed to the cab corners, which are completely rotted out. So to repair the cab corners, the bed's going to have to come off anyways. And not only that, but to get this truck running again, I need access to the fuel tank and the frame rail mounted fuel pump and those lines. And it's just going to be so much easier to do that with this off the truck. And then while Mark was working on it there, I took a shovel and I took all the junk that was out of the back of the truck here to throw away. And then I took a shovel and took all of the decayed leaves and acorns and all that.
Hey, Daddy.
Best I could. Yeah.
Can you stand in front of the sun?
February 23rd. One day has passed and the temperature has plummeted. But before we quit yesterday, we were able to finish getting the rear bumper off. There's that 45 that Mark thought he saw on the inside of the bumper. It might actually be a 4S. So we don't know what that means. But I Googled last night because I found out that not only were the bolts for the bumper 18 millimeter, but the bolts that hold the bed onto the frame were 18 millimeter. So I Googled it, sure enough, 1993 Chevy pickup truck bed bolts size, and the first hit that came up says 18 millimeter. So go figure. I did not expect it to be a metric. Anyways, so there were 2 bolts up underneath here. There are actually holes in the frame, underneath the frame, to stick the socket up into to get to the bed bolts. There's 2 on this side in the rear, 2 on that side in the rear. I got those 4 out. Then over here, up near the front, tucked way up here. So this is the bracket that the front of the leaf spring bolts to. And above that, right there, is a bolt that attaches the front of the bed to the frame via that bracket right there. The trick is, because this whole bracket is in the way, it's hard to get to. So you don't have a lot of room to work with in here. So I put my 18 millimeter deep socket on there and couldn't get the breaker bar in there, and nothing was working. And then I noticed this hole right here. And I realized this hole is in a great location that if I put a regular 18 millimeter socket instead of a deep socket with a U-joint and an extension on there, I think I can reach that bolt. In other words, just like this. I can get that on there, and now with multiple extensions on there, I can have plenty of room down here near the ground to hook on my breaker bar. Boy, that is I can't believe that bolt's not snapping. It is so tight. We have to put the breaker bar on it and get about 1/4 of a turn, and then reposition the breaker bar, and it just like several turns, and it doesn't seem to be loosening up at all. And then there's another one up in the front here I just noticed. So that one, though, it's a straight shot to reach that one, so I'm going to try the impact driver on that one. And then I hit my head about 5-6 times on those brackets that were sticking out. I didn't take that one off yet, but those metal brackets that were holding these running boards up, those are a menace. So I grabbed the angle grinder and cut those off. All right, let's try this. All right, so the 2 very front ones we were able to get out with the impact driver because it was a straight shot. Then I took a big risk and I put the universal joint on this impact driver and was able to get the other one out, the tough one. It barely wanted to move. We had backed it out with the breaker bar like maybe 2 turns at the most, and it didn't want to move. But then I reversed it, and it moved like 1/4 turn in and then stopped dead again. And then I backed it out again. And I worked it back and forth a couple times, and then it finally broke free and came out in one piece. And it was in surprisingly good shape, considering the beating it was just exerted on. This side is a little bit of a different situation because there's no hole through the bracket for me to feed the extension up through. So I'm at an even worse angle than the other side. So I'm having a hard time getting this to... If I had a short socket, it would be better. Problem is, I don't have an 18 millimeter impact short socket. And if I use the short socket that I have, the non-impact one, I'm almost sure to snap that, so... That's not staying on there. That's gonna round over that bolt. I gotta figure out a better way to come at this thing. And I gotta work. All right, we think we got the last of the bolts out. Go ahead, grab the wheel well. See what happens.
See.
It's off.
If I lift it.
All right, let me try it. Oh yeah, no problem. Now we just gotta see if we can get the loader started in this cold weather. All right, we're ready to take the bed off, but unfortunately the backhoe with its old diesel engine will not start in this cold. Let the battery run down, like I just ran it down. So All we had to do after taking those 8 bolts out of the bed, we had to unplug one plug for the wiring to the tail lights, and then one ground wire goes to one little bolt on the back frame back here. We had to undo that. There was also this white ground wire, which actually that goes to this mess of wiring over to the trailer lights hitch and brakes. And last but not least, we took out 3 Torx screws from this assembly,
I have those.
which mounts the filler, fuel filler, so that can stay behind with the tank, hopefully, when we go to slide this out.